Welcome to another edition of Octagons, Circles, and Squares, an NBC Sports podcast covering the cage, the mat, and the ring. I'm your host, Steven D'Agostino, and today we are previewing UFC 322, the annual MSG card. What better way to help us break it all down than to welcome on middleweight contender and someone familiar with fighting MSG. That's right, Bo Nickal joins the show. Bo, thanks for taking the time to chat with us ahead of UFC 322. I'm sure you're getting crushed by this question, so we'll get out of the way off the bat. You're coming off a loss to RDR. Not what you really wanted. But what did you take away from that fight that you took back into the gym that you've worked on bringing into this next fight, trying to get back in the saddle here?
Yeah, I like that you just went straight to it. Most guys try to ease into it.
We got to get out of the way. So let's just do it now,
No, it's great. I think that I look back at the fight and, definitely disappointed, frustrated with myself and, would have loved to perform better. But I think that I learned so much in that fight. I learned more in that fight than I did all the other fights in my career combined. So, it's something that I'm grateful for. And I think if I look back at my wrestling career, which I draw a lot of my, I just always make comparisons and see how I dealt with things then and how I deal with them now. But these losses are stuff I've experienced, and they were always springboards for me onto bigger and better things. So, I try to just take that same attitude and turn a negative to a positive. I think you can, if you are searching for ways to do that, you can always turn a negative into a positive. And so that's what I'm looking to do. I think my training camp, this past fight, has been the best of my whole career, and made more improvements than I ever have before, and I have a different type of focus. So I'm just excited to get in there Saturday and perform.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that about your wrestling experience, just getting, rebounding from losses, which if someone followed your collegiate career, there weren't many of losses.
Right.
What was there a moment that stuck out to you that you kind of reminded you of a loss you did have through freestyle or folk style wrestling that you're like, oh, I kind of feel this way, and this is how I built off it last time. So here we are again, and this is what I'm going to do going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember losses that I had college, high school, all the way down to when I was 7 and 8 years old, and those all remain very vivid in my memory. And I think I've always used them as motivators. Specifically, I can think about losing in the state finals as a freshman in high school, losing in the national finals as a freshman in college, losing the Olympic trials finals in 2021. Those were big matches that I came up short in, and I felt like, those experiences definitely prepared me to deal with this last loss and try to, make it a positive. And I think that this last loss, it didn't really hit as hard because I had already experienced this, multiple times before. So, I think I was able to mentally turn around a lot quicker where, that kind of those stages of grief or whatever, you go from denial, anger, frustration, all that stuff to acceptance. I was able to move into accepting it very quickly and feeling like my belief in myself hasn't really faltered. I still believe I can achieve everything that I've set out to do, but I just need to make adjustments and continue to improve. So really, it's all a positive.
You got a pretty tough matchup here in that next match, Rodolfo Vieira. What about his game is the most challenging in your opinion? And then also, where are the holes you're looking to exploit on the way to victory against him on Saturday?
I think that, Rodolfo is a guy who's obviously multiple-time world champion in jiu-jitsu and has competed at a world-class level in multiple sports now. So he's a guy you have to respect, and he's able to do a lot of great things. His striking has rounded out, but, it's definitely not his strong suit. He's more of a grappling-focused guy. And really, this past camp has just been focusing on myself. I prepared for this to be my third jiu-jitsu specialist in a row that I'll be competing against. So I feel fine in that department, but really just focusing on rounding out my skills and improving and getting better and mastering all the fundamentals I can, because, if I'm able to master fundamentals of all the different disciplines, it doesn't matter who I fight. I'm going to be able to implement my game plan and my pace on the fight. And so that's really what I've been focused on as of late.
Let's say, things go according to plan Saturday. Do you know what a next opponent might be for you? Someone you want to call out, or maybe you just, wave at all the New York fans that were very kind to you last time you're at MSG, just being typical New York fans. But have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, no, definitely going to give them a nice wave. And no, I feel like right now especially after my last fight, I'm not worried too much about the matchups. The first person that the UFC offered me was Rodolfo. So, I'll probably turn right around and whoever they offer me next, do the same thing and accept that fight, because I don't feel like I'm in a position to be making call outs or wanting to, play the game and pick fights. I'm really just in a position where I want to fight whoever, and whoever the UFC gives me, I'll be ready to go.
We at NBC here, we're big Olympics people, love wrestling, so we got to talk a little bit about wrestling while we got you. The first thing I want to ask, and any of the Nittany Lion guys, I always ask, like, what's the secret in the sauce at the wrestling club? And I don't even mean just the collegiate level, but like as we see with the Olympics, like you guys just dominate trials, worlds, Olympics. It's like if you were your own country, you'd probably have just as many medals as other actual countries. So what's the secret at Nittany Lion Wrestling Club?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm still trying to figure it out. Maybe they're putting something in our water, or I don't know. But there's just so many talented guys, and I think that really what the things that I would see as a commonality, everyone is just super focused on gratitude, on appreciating all the opportunities that we've been given, appreciating training with each other. Everybody's very driven and focused, and you don't have to try to beg anybody to get into practice. It's like, I think every single guy on the team, you'd ask them, what's your favorite part of the day? And they would say, going to training, So the coaches have done a good job of just cultivating a positive environment that you want to come there. It's like a magnet. It just draws you in. That's why we have some of the best wrestlers of all time who competed at different schools wanting to move in and train at Penn State. I mean, there's guys that we have even turned down that are some of the top wrestlers in the country and in the world that want to train with us, because the coaches are the culture, and everything that they build is so important to them. So I feel like, yeah, it's just a really special place, and there's not necessarily one secret. It's just a lot of effort and hard work and gratitude.
I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way, though, because you mentioned the 2020 trials and you end up dropping one to David, which is tough, but he goes on to win gold. So it's like, well, you almost had a gold medal match at the trials, which is not uncommon either, right? Like we saw with David again with Brooks as well. So it's kind of crazy. But going back to 2020, like after David had won gold, I'm sure you were stoked for him. But was there anything mentally like, dang, like maybe I could have medaled and been on the stand or something in Tokyo? Or has there been any regret or any second thoughts about it since Tokyo, or maybe even through Paris?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like now that I think about it too often, but going back, it was an interesting situation. Obviously, a teammate that I'd trained with for a long time. I was super happy with him. I felt like he deserved to go out there and win a gold medal. He'd put the work in and done what he needed to do. So, I was happy for him in that regard. It was a little frustrating because I felt like, there was really David, Hassan Yazdani from Iran, and me, and we were the top three guys in the world. And it just happened that, one of them was my fellow countryman and teammate. But that's the way it works. And I think that moving from the trials to deciding whether I wanted to continue to wrestle or pursue MMA, that it made it tougher, because I was like, man, I know I could be a world champion. I could be Olympic gold medalist if I stick with this. But I just felt like in my gut that I was just more excited and more looking forward towards pursuing a career in MMA. And that was just what seemed to me like where my heart was pulling me and what I wanted to do. But it definitely made it tougher knowing that I was right there with the best guys.
Speaking about that transition, and now, I'm sure you've put the singlet on before since then, but in a competitive sense, you're coming off Real American Folk Style 1, which is a really cool event. Just talk us about your experience there and what it felt like getting back in the win column in like a television perspective with the televised event for freestyle wrestling.
Yeah, it was really awesome. I think that what they're doing with RAF is incredible. The team is amazing with Chad Braunstein, Izzy Martinez, Eric Bischoff, and many others. They're putting together really special events, and I was fortunate to be able to compete at the inaugural event, get a win. So it felt good to get back on the mat after 4-ish years of layoff, 4.5 years of a layoff. But it was a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking to continue to get wrestling matches in when I can, outside of my focus on my fighting career. It's nice to be able to compete more often. I feel like RAF is, again, doing something very special that wrestling needs. Had RAF been a thing 5-6 years ago, maybe that's the career I would have pursued and stuck with that. But even better, I can pursue it now and do fighting and wrestling at the same time. So yeah, it's going to be great. And there's multiple events scheduled for the rest of this year, and there's going to be a big lineup in 2026 of fun events.
Maybe my line of questioning isn't too veiled here. You might have already caught on to it, but what I'm angling towards is LA coming up for the Olympics. And you're back on the mat again. Has there been any thought at all about maybe giving it a shot for Los Angeles and trying to win a medal on home soil here?
There's been thoughts about it. I think that my wrestling coaches are always talking to me, asking me like, "Hey man, we want to come back. You want to do it?" And I'm like, guys, I'm focused on one thing right now. It's nice to be able to supplement matches with the RAF, and because you can't fight 10 times a year, so to be able to supplement matches here and there and get that competition feel and experience is really valuable for me. But my focus is on MMA and being the best fighter I can be. So 2028 it would be great. It would be a dream, but I think that at the same time, you have to respect the sport, and if you're not pursuing something full time, I think that you're only cheating yourself, right? And a lot of these guys, maybe I think that I'd have to fully dedicate myself to wrestling to beat them, just out of respect for the sport, out of respect for those other guys. So right now it's not in the cards, but who knows? We'll see. It's still a few years away.
Yeah, if we see your name on the way in Shia Trials, we'll be really excited. So
I thought about it. I was this past year at the World Trials. I was like, I should just go enter and beat a couple guys, and then I'll probably end up wrestling a Penn State guy, and I'll just forfeit to him, give him the spot. But
that's always the funniest thing about the trials. Like you just show up, you're like, oh, who's here? And like, oh yeah. Wow, I guess we're all wrestling today, and
yep.
Very funny. But yeah, Bo, thanks for the time, man. I don't want to keep you. I appreciate you. Best of luck this weekend, and I hope New York is nicer to you this time after the W. If not, be sure to give it to him, man.
I will. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care. Best of luck.
See ya.
That'll do it for this edition of Octagon Circles and Squares. Please enjoy the fights this weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and check back with us for the latest on combat sports news.